Okay, great. Now I'm going to start. I'm going to just introduce myself very quickly. Okay, so just very quickly, let me share my screen. Okay, so a few things that are important to this training. Firstly, I'm Jasmine from Empire Code again. Thank you for joining today. We are a proud supporter and we were the developer for the Future Ready ASEAN website, futurereadyasean.org. Now, the whole training is actually built around this. Now, this is why you are here. Future Ready ASEAN is an initiative by three partners, the ASEAN Foundation, Empire Code, and Microsoft. Now, as part of this training, for those of you that have done our HTML course, you'll know that there are many things to learn and for free. They start from HTML, Microsoft Office tools under Dream Team Player, Data Wizard, which is analyzing data using Python in particular, Power BI and Excel, and Social Innovator, creating Microsoft apps on C#. Now, I'm going to go through a little bit more about that, but this is the reason why you are here, and this is the reason why we are able to provide you the training. It's because of Microsoft and ASEAN Foundation's generosity to supporting the Future Ready ASEAN goal of teaching everybody across ASEAN and for free as well. Now, one of the most important things, of course, is today's session is about data science. So I'm going to start sharing my slides. Okay, so data science, like you said, some of you are familiar with it, some of you are not familiar with it, that is fine. Now, for those of you that are familiar with it, I'm here to train you how to train on. Okay, so this is what this is for. For those of you that are unfamiliar with it, I'm here to train you on what data science is and how you can train it on. Now, you are on this call as master trainers as well, because the main idea is you are to teach everybody else about data science, not just yourself. We want to keep spreading the word, and we want as many people joining the competition as well that is coming up very, very soon. So let's get started. Now, what we will cover today, the many terms. What is data science, data analytics, machine learning, sentiment analysis? You all may have heard of these terms before, but it all gets very confusing, isn't it? So we're going to go through each one of them because that is vital for the competition too. Now, it's not only is it about the codes with every programming competition, it's also about the theme behind it, is also about the theory behind it, and it is also about what we need to discover from it, like, what do you want to achieve out of it. I'm going to go through the types of data. They're very important. I'm going to get hands-on with Anaconda and Jupyter Notebook. So you've downloaded Anaconda, which will come automatically with Jupyter Notebook. So please don't go and download Jupyter Notebook now. It's not necessary. Essential libraries. Now, these are libraries that are important to do what you need in data science. We're going to go through this today as well, but also please don't worry about that because you've downloaded the libraries with Anaconda too. And then your next steps to your learning journey. The Future Ready ASEAN 2020 competition, I'll cover some of the aspects for you to spread the word as well once the competition launches. Okay, so let's get started. What is data science? Data science is a multidisciplinary field focused on finding actionable insights from large sets of raw and structured data. It is a technique drawn from fields such as computer science, mathematics, and statistics. So, it sounds a bit confusing, isn't it? But really what it is that it's a very broad scope field that talks about taking information that you can find. It can be from your school, it can be from medical information, it can be corporate information, and then you look at it and you start thinking, okay, what can I do with this data? And then what is data analytics? Data analytics focuses on processing and performing statistical analysis on existing data sets. They're not the same thing. Data science and data analytics are two different things. They get used interchangeably quite commonly, but their scope is different. One looks at very broad scope. We call that macro. Data analytics is looking and drilling down into the very minute data. We call that micro. For those of you that know economics, is also the same kind of concept. We have macroeconomics and microeconomics. So in computer science, data science is like your macro, data analytics, your micro. Now, in data science, we always look to find the right questions to ask. So what do you want to achieve? And in analytics, we find answers to these questions being asked. Major fields in data science include artificial intelligence and machine learning. And for data analytics, it comes with industries with immediate data needs very commonly. For example, I work for a bank or I work for an insurance company. I want to understand the types of questions people are asking so that I can potentially generate more revenue for the company. What types of questions? Like say, if I'm selling insurance and I'm selling mostly health insurance, but more people are asking about, car insurance. Should I try to sell that as well? You know, maybe through the help desk, a lot of people are asking about insurance for tests. And, you know, maybe that's what I want to provide too, because we don't provide that at the moment. So this is why data analytics is key. Now, what is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science that emphasizes the development of intelligent machines, thinking and working like humans. For example, speech recognition that falls under artificial intelligence. Now, AI is the simulation of a human brain function by machines. And what is machine learning? Now, machine learning was a name coined in 1959. A lot of things were created out of Bell Labs or invented out of Bell Labs since before World War II. Now, he was an American pioneer in the field of computer gaming and artificial intelligence. And he created machine learning as a subset of AI that often uses statistical techniques to give computers the ability to learn data. So machine learning is about learning the data. AI is a little bit more about trying to pretend to be a human. Now, data science is the most widely used technique among artificial intelligence and machine learning, so as to analyze data and make predictions about the future. Okay, so you notice they're all interlinked, but they're all used differently. Now, what is sentiment analysis? This is another topic thrown in as well. Sentiment analysis is data extraction through reviews, surveys, and social media, also known as opinion mining or emotional intelligence. It aims to determine attitudes and emotional reactions. Machine learning techniques are used for sentiment analysis, all intertwined again. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, sentiment analysis, for example, I have here one thing that we're probably all familiar with still, which is the last U.S. elections, and it was between Trump and Hillary Clinton. Now, Singapore, we had our own elections yesterday as well, last night, and not as exciting as the U.S. one, but, you know, what was interesting with this particular election was there was a Cambridge Analytica case. In the Cambridge Analytica case, apparently one party, and I won't say which one, had engaged a company to do data analytics on social media against the opponent. And then how is that done? Now, just for an example, let's say I decide that, you know, I want to get rid of Hillary. And I want to make her less well-liked. Now, let's find who her supporters are. And let's find who are the people that hate her. Now, those that support her will definitely vote her. So let's not bother with them. Those that don't like her will definitely not vote her either. So let's not bother with them. Those that are pure Democrats will definitely vote her. Let's not work on them. Those that are pure Republicans will definitely vote Trump. So let's not work on them as well. Let's work on those middle ground voters that do not know who to vote for. That's your target market. Your target market is trying to swing these people to vote Trump. In this case, let's just presume that. Okay, everything is hypothetical here. Now, let's try and see out of these voters that we don't know that don't know who they want to vote for, what are they likely to like or dislike? Now, through sentiment analysis of their Facebook posts, or we realize, oh, wait a minute, everybody that sits right on the fence seems to like cats. They love cats. They post pictures of their cats all the time. They love pictures of cats all the time. Now, of course, Facebook has clamped down on all this, and it's very strict right now. You can't get such data or even get in to use such data. But a few years ago, you could, and now even on some social media platforms, you still can. But let's just say, just for hypothesis sake, we use Facebook at the moment. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to realize also that because most of these voters like cats, let's make them hate Hillary. Now, how can I do that? I can do that by getting a picture of Hillary eating cats. Not literally, but I can pretend. And I can write an article, or I can get a fake picture of Hillary eating cat, and I start blasting out to these people that do not know who to vote for. So automatically, as a cat lover, you'll go, oh gosh, that's really disgusting. She's eating cat. Let's not vote for her. Now, this is how sentiment analysis techniques are used to understand people's emotional mindset. This is emotional AI. Okay, now I'm going to move on to types of data. There's quite a bit of theory here at the start of this, so please bear with me. Okay, on types of data, we're going to walk through text, image, network, relational, time series, transactional, and spatial temporal. Text data. What is text data for? Text data is a process involving turning data into numbers. For example, if I want a code number for everything, like I want a code for Trump, so Trump becomes a number. Maybe Trump becomes 543211268. It becomes a hidden number. Or if I want Hillary to become a number 2, I can do that as well. Now, in development, what normally happens is that we do turn passwords into numbers because we do not want it to be tracked either. Okay, or of course we mask the passwords as well, right? But this is what we do at the back end, for example. Now there's image data. So image data uses points to define contours, hence identifying facial shape and features. Now, if you notice these points on the girl's face here, if you walk through, and I know all of us haven't gone through immigration for a while, but when you travel and you go through international immigration, and some places will have a face scanner. Now, what happens is that the facial scanner will take points on your face to record the image of your face. For example, the distance between the eye and the cheek, the distance between your two eyebrows, the distance between your two eyes, the distance between your nose and your mouth. All this is image data. The more points there are, of course, the more accurate the processing will be. Now, and the speed of it is required, and of course, the more expensive it becomes. But that's what image data is good for. Now, it can be challenging due to light variations or when wearing spectacles. So, of course, when you go through immigration, you'll notice that there's a lot of light shining down. This is also no different to how if you're on an if your phone uses facial recognition to let you in, it is the same concept. Okay. Or with Windows nowadays, you can also use facial recognition to sign on to your PC. It is the same concept. It takes as many points as possible that it can on your face to calculate. Now, next one, then we have network data. Network data is quite straightforward, particularly if any of you are teachers and you're in schools. Now, network data, you will notice that you can share folders across each other. This is network data. Of course, network data can be very risky. There is fake network data. People could be planting in fake folders or files into your school network. And then they could be also putting in viruses. So network data is risky, just be mindful of it, but it's a form of data. Now, relational data. One of the most and best examples of relational data is your identity card. Whether it's a student card or whether it's a national identity card, this is relational data. Most large data sets are stored as tables known as relation. What does relation mean? Benjamin Bayer here, every information that you have here relates to him. So for example, in this student ID card, you have the student name, you have her father or guardian, you have the class that she's in, you have the emergency number that you're meant to call on. All these are known as relational tables. They all relate to that one person. The tables contain attributes, which are sets of characters of the table. Tables are related to each other through shared attributes. Okay, so this is relational data. Now, time series data. Time series data, I have an example here of time series data. At the top right, you'll see Disney's theme park. Now, how does the weather affect the business at Disney's theme park? You know, you go to Disneyland, if it's raining, or if you know it's raining, you don't really go there, do you? You wait for a day that's potentially a bit sunnier. So how does weather affect the business of your theme park? This kind of data is also key. You know, how big a drop do you see when the weather is bad? What if we're forecasting really bad weather for the next 3 months? You know, my business at the theme park is going to get so bad. What do I do? How do I manage it? So you work forward. A lot of things to do with data is looking at historical data and looking to the future. How can we make the future better? By looking at old data. Now, transactional data. Transactional data are date stamp events such as credit card transactions. This is one of the best examples for transactional data. Whatever data you have on your credit card, the credit cards companies know. They know that, and they know what to do to make sales better for them. So for example, if I am Standard Chartered, just for an example here, and all my credit card users seem to love to eat in restaurants, that's the biggest transactions that they have. So if I'm Standard Chartered and I know that most of my users love food and beverage, I am likely to cater more to food and beverage, which means maybe I provide them with more discounts on food and beverage to encourage that even more and to gain market share as compared to other credit cards. Okay, so such data is very useful instead of presuming that your credit card users like food and beverage. Now, as data scientists, we avoid presumption. We don't presume. We look at hard data and we work from there. That's the main thing. Now, spatial temporal data. What is spatial temporal? Now, spatial temporal is key. It's what Elon Musk uses a lot for Tesla. When he creates his and designs his self-driving cars. So what it is exactly is, for example, how it is most and historically used is for air traffic control. Air traffic controller sitting here will have to make sure that depending on the altitude of the plane and the speed that it is going, it does not hit each other, it does not crash. It's the same concept that Tesla uses as well. Tesla uses the concept where it ensures that one car doesn't hit another car, or even better, it predicts. Tesla actually can predict whether two cars ahead are likely to go into an accident or meet into an accident or not. Okay, that's the beauty of the self-driving cars these days. One very layman example of spatial temporal data is also, or how it's used is, say I'm on the road and I have Felicia that's driving on the right of the road, and I want to speed up and overtake her and go in front of her and turn right, even though she's on the right side of my road. Now that's very dangerous, but me trying to figure out how much speed I should put on the pedal, or how much faster I should go, and how much distance and space I should give between my car and her car is considered spatial temporal. Okay. Now, great. Can I ask if there's any questions before we start getting hands-on? If you can put it on the chat room, or if you can put it on the Telegram for Nuzul to drop it to the chat room. Just to spend just 2 minutes seeing if there's any questions. Okay, while we're waiting for some people to come in with any questions, this is an example of spatial temporal data that Tesla uses. Okay, so if you look here, you'll see that as the driver is driving, all this data comes in, and you can see truck, for example, what's the height of the truck. So Tesla will have data, all this data routing back to their main center and saying, oh, there's this truck, this size, it goes at this speed, for example. And then if they have something that comes in new, like even a bigger truck, that new data will get fed into the system as well. Okay. Okay, great. Since I don't have any questions, I'm gonna just carry on. Now, if I can have everybody turn on their Anaconda right now, we're gonna just do a little bit. So it should start up like that. So if you click on your Anaconda icon, wherever you may have it, on your PC, it will come up like that, and it will come up to this screen. And I just make sure that everybody will have Anaconda up too before I continue. Great. Thank you. You have it up. Does everybody else have this up? Okay, great. So why have I got everybody to download Anaconda? The beauty of it is that it provides all these libraries here. Now you should see when you click environments here, you'll notice that everything is downloaded here. Now it can be quite heavy on your machine, I know, but it's the best way to teach, especially new students coming into data science. Now, another alternative would be is to just download Jupyter Notebook. For those people that in particular don't have enough space on their computer, they can't just download Jupyter Notebook. But what will happen after that is that they're going to have to manually pip install in command prompt each library that they will require. So this is what I normally recommend for beginners. Okay, Anaconda also provides a lot of community support. You'll notice that if you turn to community, you'll see just a lot of options here that you have for joining communities. And of course, a lot of learning. Now, if you look here, Anaconda now provides a lot of learning in terms of whether it's documentation, training, or even videos. Now, be mindful too that it's not only Anaconda, but Microsoft too. Microsoft Learn also provides a lot of training that you can use as well for the course. So if you just search Microsoft Learn on your web browser, there's a lot of documentation too for you to use. And of course, there's those on the Future Ready ASEAN site, which you have too, and which are requirements for the competition anyway. So yourself and your students will have no choice but to go through particular modules that are on the futurereadyasean.org platform to make it to the competition or to qualify for the competition. Okay, so that's the beauty of it. There's even a lot of other modules that Microsoft Learn provides too, and it's all for free. There's also Learn TV, and there's also ways on how you can even get certified too. Now, the Future Ready ASEAN platform provides its own kind of certification too, just a little bit different. It provides it in the form of badges. Now, these badges, you can post it on LinkedIn, or you can Facebook share as well. You can download and put it on LinkedIn here, save badge, or put it on your Instagram or any social media. And that's the main thing of it. So it's just a bit different in terms of certification. Okay, so I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have everybody launch Jupyter Notebook. If you click launch. Okay, great. Now, what you should see, unless your computer is partitioned, i.e. you have 2 hard drives, or you have everything going to the cloud automatically. So say, for example, in some cases, let's say if you have your OneDrive turned on, if you're using Windows, for example, and you have everything going there, what you may end up seeing is your OneDrive, and it's not your computer. So the path is pretty automatic. Jupyter will presume the path that you want. But what you should see is what I have. I don't have any partitions. I don't have everything automatically going to OneDrive. I like it straightforward. So I do have all my folders here. Now, the main thing is you need to start creating a folder. Now, in my documents, I have a coding folder. That's how I like to call it. And then I'm going to create a new folder and here. So if you see new folder, I'm going to click folder and I will have a new untitled folder here. If you see here. Okay. I've got a new untitled folder here. Now, depending on the browser you're using, I'm on Firefox. Every browser is a little bit different as well. Does not matter. If I wanted to change the name of my folder, for example, what I would actually have to do is I'll need to open my File Explorer. So if I open my File Explorer and I go into coding, I will see the same untitled folder that I created here, sitting here now. And I can change the name of this folder later. Okay, now I can't emphasize any further. During our trainings last year, Eric, myself, Felicia, Aaron, Lorraine, even Amber on the recent training we had. Now, we try to emphasize as much as possible that folder organization is very important. You need to know where your code files are sitting. And you need to make sure you can find them again, because we have always had a very common problem that people can't find the work that they've done. That becomes a waste of time as well. Okay, so ensuring that you keep to a folder that you like is key. And then in the untitled folder right now, I'm going to create a new Python 3 notebook. So if you see here, new, and you click Python 3. Okay, it'll pop up another browser page. Now, if you're creating a new notebook, it becomes a little more straightforward. You can just change the name of your notebook. Now, what do I mean by that? Say today we're gonna start working on strings, and I'm gonna call this notebook name strings. I can name that strings, and when I go into untitled folder, you'll see here this is what I created. Now, Python files generally are in .py extension format. For anything done on Jupyter, it's on .ipynb. Now, there is a difference because in ipynb, it means that I can only open my notebook in Jupyter, SIS and ipynb. Nothing else will work. I can't open a .py file in Jupyter. I will have to copy and paste across, but I'll show you how that is done later as well. Okay. Now, one thing, please note, if you notice this, Jupyter sits on a local host on your browser. If for some reason, I don't have it here pop up because mine's working okay at the moment, but say you have too many browser windows open, say you have too many applications open, or your internet is down for a little bit, you might notice a little hourglass sign, and then it doesn't become green, it becomes another color. I think it's just empty. That means that things are not working properly. There is this thing called kernel here. You go into kernel. Kernel is basically what runs the backend of your Jupyter. Now, what runs at the backend of it? Python runs at the backend of it. You can restart and run, or reconnect or shut down. If all else fails and it doesn't work, close all browser windows and restart them again. I have had cases with students before where they've even had to close Anaconda and restart it again, Jupyter Notebook again. So that's what happens if for some reason your codes are not loading. Okay. Now, Python is a very simple language and very easy to learn. Okay, that's the beauty of Python. It was created by a developer from Google, and what he wanted to do was he wanted to make a language beautiful. He wanted to make a language easy to read. So the beauty of Python is that we're going to be able to read it. All right, now this is just one way. If I want to make a comment on Python, I can do this. Okay, now I can either hit run. This becomes one input line if I hit run. If I make another comment and I go easier way on your Windows PC, which is would be to shift enter, and this creates another input. Now these are just command inputs, and command inputs are just there for you to make notes. For example, if there are certain things that I'm saying today and you want to make notes on, you're happy to make the notes here as well. Okay, so say for example, I'm gonna start teaching you what is a comment. Okay, and how do I print? Okay, let's go print hello from Python. The computer automatically comes up and says hello from Python. Now, this strings are very important when you start teaching it to students. And what we can do is also we can give a string a name, for example. Let's give a string a name and let's call it okay, so if I go print message, you see how it comes up? Okay. Okay, somebody, Andy, you can't, it's a bit small. Is it the browser? Okay, let me bring it up. Is this better? You see a bit better now? Okay, great. Thanks for your feedback, Andy. Okay, you'll notice right here that I've had to put in 2 extra things to make it a string. Now, every string, you've noticed also that I have used 1 or 2 here. It does not matter, okay? Whether you use open and close, you open and close of your string as 1 or 2, Python reads it the same way. That's the beauty of Python. Okay, it does not shift you into something that it says, you know, it has to be like that. All right, now we're going to learn a little bit about tuples right now. Now, what has this done? Basically what it's done is that it's made everything that I put into my string capitals. That's what it's done. Now, one thing about data analytics in Python is that it is actually case sensitive. Okay, say I'm cleaning up data and I want to analyze the data. I have to make sure that they are all in the same case and form. If not, it will sort out very differently. It will sort out, say, by lowercase first, for example. Now, say, for example, I'm given an email and I've got email data, and the email data comes like this, where my name is capital, and I want to make it all small. This is what I do. Now, say I want to print a news headline. What does a news headline do? The title function makes everything at the front small caps, large caps, sorry, and everything else small caps. Okay, now one thing I like to do is I want to teach about variables. Now, if I want to create a variable and I want to call a variable Jasmine, so this is one variable called Jasmine, and this is one variable called Tang. All right, now what is a variable? A variable comes from, the word variable actually comes from the word variety. This is how it became a variable in coding. Now, if I were to say to you, I am short and Eric is tall, what variable am I mentioning here? The variable here is height. Height is our variable. If I were to say to you, I drive a motorbike, Eric drives a car, Felicia drives a really cool Tesla, and say Nuzu drives an airplane. You know, what's the difference? What's the variable here that I'm mentioning? The variable here is transport, different modes of transport, but with different types of functions. So Nuzu's plane will fly you somewhere. My motorbike will take you somewhere, but a lot slower than Eric and Felicia, for example, but they all have the same type of function. These are variables. Now, the first name variable that I have here is first name, and the last name variable is just my last name. Now, always name variables the name that you want it to be to represent what you are trying to do, or what the word variety is, or what the variety of information you want to give. Don't, for example, say, instead of first name variable, you name it something else like human equals Jasmine, and then you have last name, and then what is last name then? You got to be consistent with your naming convention as well. Now say I have these variables, and now I want to print these variables. Hello. Last first name. Okay, they will go, hello, Jasmine. Now, if you notice here, it doesn't look very nice. Now, what happens is that in a string, the computer doesn't know. If you want a space, you have to literally tell the computer, I want a space. So if I go to hello and I put a space, and I rerun the code, you can always rerun your codes. You say, hello, Jasmine. Right, so same thing. I can take this. Okay. And if I want a space here, I literally have to create another string in between with a space, a plus. This is how Python adds strings to get a plus, to get a space. Okay, is everybody doing okay? Just checking in on everyone. If you're having an invalid syntax, it's because you have your curly brackets. I'm not using curly brackets here. If you notice, I am only using normal brackets. That's why. Okay, now I can't look at the Telegram chat anymore. So if any questions, please drop it on the Teams chat. Thank you. Great. Okay, so the next one would be dictionary. Now we are going to learn curly brackets. So what is a dictionary? A dictionary in Python is where I can store values. For example, no, it's no different at all to having a dictionary literally like an English Vietnamese dictionary or English Chinese dictionary. It is a key value store. So how do dictionaries work? Say you want to look up the word apple and you want to look up the word apple in Vietnamese. How would that work? The key value store would be, the key would be apple and the value would be many different ways you can say apple in your dictionary. Now, for example, I can go and print right now. Let's say if I print normal brackets, okay, and I'm using the information, the variables that we created above, and we go, I want the format of it to be first name and last name. Okay, you notice that my name gets printed, but it goes by first name and last name. All right, and this is what the dictionary. Now, how does it determine the dictionary? In Python, what's very important as well, okay, that everybody needs to know in Python is Python slices. Now, what are Python slices? Python always starts from 0. It doesn't start from 1. Okay, that's how Python works. When you're coding in Python and you're referencing anything, always just remember the first placing is 0. It's no different to, let's say, you're in a building and they call it ground floor. It's the same kind of concept. All right. Let me try to get you some slices. I'd definitely like to show you how slices work. So if you see here, it's another way that we can use to. If you notice here, I have 3 dots here above and 3 dots below. These 3 dots, I have an output here that's running, but I meant it just as the text information here, so you can ignore that. But basically, this is how Python slices work. The word Python 0, 0, okay, so what is in character position 0 is P. Now, because it starts from 0, if you look from the right and you're going backwards, it doesn't start from 0 from the right. It goes from -1 because we cannot have 2 zeros at all. Okay, now let me take this out and let's try to do this. So I can have a word equals Python. Okay, and I can go, I want the word in character position 0, and that's P. And say I want the word in character position 5, that's N. And why 5? Because you see N is sitting here. Okay. Shortcut key to run a line without click at the run line button. It is Shift Enter. Shift Enter does it. So you should have that too, unless you're using a Mac. If you're using a Mac, please search online on what your shortcut key is. Okay, there's a question from Zaki. Let's create another variable called message. All right. So everybody have this. So we're creating, we're going to do a little bit of count, index, and find within Python right now. Okay, so it's got a message, and we've got a message, and we've got a whole string, entire string here for the message. Now, we're going to do a count. So Python has many functions. We're just going to cover some today that are key for data science. Message count message. What does this mean? Can I get a guess from people on the meeting chat? If you can tell me, what are we trying to do here? Message.count message. Am I moving too fast? Okay, I'll try to slow down a bit. Count the frequency of the word message. Yes, that's right. So message has appeared twice in here. Thank you, Apirat. That's really good. Now, the next thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to go message.index. We just did a little small teaching here. I just did a little small teaching here on slices. So what do you think index means? Can anybody guess? Okay, it's right. The position, Hong Pan, you replied the position of the first message, and that's perfectly right because you have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So that's perfectly right. Message starts at the 16th index. And it starts from 0, and we also include spaces. Okay, Now the next thing I want to do is I want to go message dot find, and let's just find my surname in the message. I get -1. I get -1 because it does not exist, because my surname does not exist in the message at all. Now if I go message dot find and I go first. Okay, first comes up and it tells me where the index of first is. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. So the index where first comes up is there as well. Okay, what's very important in Python in data analytics is being able to information. So for example, maybe I have a CSV file from Excel, and I have a split here, and they're all coming up like this, and I want to split them up into columns. So this is what I do. I use the split function, and I say split by the hyphen that is the middle of their name, because this is one string, right? And I want to split up the string. I get 3 different information here. Okay, so split is also a very important function in Python. Okay, great. This is everything for strings at the moment. The next session I'm going to go into is list basics, but I'm just going to take a very short 1-minute break for any of you that just want to catch up a little bit. Hi, okay, I've got a couple of questions. Message.com, why show result number 2? If you look at the group chat, Apirak had given the right answer. It counts the frequency of the word message, so that's why it comes up. Okay, so sometimes we may want to know how many times a word comes up within a set of data, and that means 2. Now, why would we want to do that? Say we want to know if, say for example, I am giving a speech, and I want to know what you say on Twitter about my speech and whether you like it or not. And say I want to say, I want to pick up the number of times the word like comes out in my speech. That's why we would use the word count. And the more likes than hate that I get means that my speech was good. If I got more hates than likes, it means that there's something wrong with my speech. Okay, there are 2 substrings message. Okay, yeah, I noticed that Huang has also replied in a different way, but it's just number of frequency or number of times. It's a good word to use for it. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's get a new one. So if you see here, if you go file, if you're in a notebook already, you can go file new notebook. There are 2 ways to create a new notebook. You can go back to where your main information is here, and you can go new Python 3, or here, new notebook Python 3, and it'll open up a new one. All right, and I am going to name this list basic. Now, what is list? If you know any other languages, for example, you know that anything that stores multiple data types are called arrays. Now, in Python, we call them lists. Okay, a list is also an array. All right, now let's create a list. Now, lists are created with square brackets. Now, be very mindful of the brackets I'm using, because sometimes you get errors if you use the wrong type of brackets. So you have your normal brackets that you use for everything else. This is your normal brackets. You have your dictionary brackets here. Dictionary brackets are brackets that curly brackets that you want to use to define which dictionary and position that you want to bring up. And then, of course, you have array, and arrays are denoted by square. So if this array here, I'm going to have a 3. I'm going to have a 4.0. The 3 is also known as an integer. The 4.0 is known as a float because it has a decimal space. Now, so I'm actually providing an array of numbers, right? But with multiple data types. Okay. Now, if I print nums, let's call it nums, sorry. This is better stands for numbers, and I print nums. Computer tells me, you've created this, and it's 3, 4.0, and 2 as a string. Now, if I want to count the number of elements that I have in my array, the computer will tell me, or Python will tell me, 3, because I have 3 elements in the array. Now, len can also be used to count number of words in a string. 18. So for example, number of characters, sorry, is a better word to use. I have 18 characters in this string, and this is what len is for. All right. Include spacing as well. Now, if I want to reference something in the array of nums, and I go nums minus 1, 2. Why does it give me 2? Because what this function is trying to tell me is I want to refer to the last element of the array. So going back again to your slices, go back to your slices. If you see minus 1, so minus 1 takes your last element of the array. Okay, I can also do the same thing if I go nums 1 gives me 4. Why 4? Because it starts from 0. 3 is in a spacing of 0. 4 is in a spacing of 1. Refers to the second element of the array, with the first element 0. Okay, now, if I want to add, so I'm going to add a number to the end. Okay, append is a data structure. So if I want to add, okay, we just use append in Python. And say, for example, if you notice, I've kind of used separate lines. Now, you can also start using the same. If you just click enter instead of shift enter, you can go to the next line as well. Then you shift enter, you'll notice that I've added another element to my list or my array. So I've added 1, another integer. Okay, so I'm just going to reply there very quickly. Now I'll move on to the next one. Now, if you've, for those of you that are more familiar with Python, these questions are also important because if you see these questions that people are putting on a group chat, these are questions that your students are likely going to ask you as well. So be mindful of that too. They're very common questions, especially for beginners in Python. Okay, let's try it. Now we append, which is add, we can also remove. So I'm going to remove the string in here of 2. And I'm going to print nums again. And you should have this, 3, 4.0, 1. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to use the sorted function in Python, and that is sorted nums. So it's 1, 3, 4. I can also choose to sort in reverse order. And how do I do that in Python? I go nums reverse equals true. Now, if you notice, you see how this comes out as green? And why is that? Now, this is very key in Python. A lot of languages as well. We use Boolean. What does Boolean mean? True or false. This also means that in programming, you may have a reverse, but you may not have a non-reverse, for example, function. So, okay, let's just say I have tall equals true. All right, tall equals true, but I don't have short. So in my Python dictionary, let's presume that I don't have short, but I have tall, right? So if I want to say that somebody is tall equals true, I will put that tall equals true. If I want to say somebody is short, I would not go short equals true. I'll go tall equals false. So that's how that works. All right, we don't have in the libraries every opposite. If the opposites can be used or true, if the opposites can be called up or used through the Boolean function, which is true or false. Now, if I do this now and I go false, you'll notice it goes in descending order now. Ascending order, sorry. Okay, non-reverse order. So there's a difference between true and false. Okay, this is very important. Understanding Boolean is very important because it's going to be used throughout in a lot of your programming as well. Okay. So just for the sake of remembering this, I'm going to just add in another line, and I'm just going to reverse equals false, and you see it come up the other way. Okay, great. Now let's try this. You've done the basics of this already. So let's try a new file, new notebook. And let's just apply what we've just learned. Okay, so let's go list, application. And let's try a new one. Let's create a basket of fruits. And I'm going to have apple and oranges in my fruit basket because that is what I literally have in my fridge right now. Okay, and I'm going to have that. Bopa, my only suggestion right now is that you go back to line 2, where you have your input 2, and click rerun. So shift enter, where you've put in nums equals 3, 4, and 2. And try to rerun it again, and then rerun the next one. So when I mean rerun in Python, for example, let's say if I had changed something above, because I know I changed from num to nums, you can go to kernel, rerun all, restart, and run all, or you can also choose to do it manually. And you can just click shift enter. If I go and click shift enter again and again, it will all come up as well. So this is one way. Don't worry about the output numbers that come out on the left. It does not matter at all to your code. Great. I'm glad you got it working. Perfect. Let's move on to the next one. Apple, orange. So back to my fruit basket. I've got apple, oranges in my fruit basket. And in my fruit basket, I also have passion fruit. And I kid you not, I can literally take a picture for you now of the fruits in my fridge. So if I go a pen and I have passion fruit. Okay, I also have a lot of lemons. I have print, fruits, apple, orange, passion fruit. So I've appended. Okay, Now, sitting in between some of my fruits. So let's say if I have my fruits stacked up in a basket, if I want to be very proper, I want my older fruits stacked up so I can eat them first. And I want to say insert my lemons because I do have lemons in my fridge. And I want to insert them in a particular order of my array. And I want them in spacing of 1. And I have lemons. All right, and I can print fruits. So spacing of 1, back to our slices again. Always refer to the slices. Spacing 1, my fruits will sit in 1. So 0, 1, 2, 3. That would be the order they're in. Okay, let's count the number of fruits I have in my basket right now. So if I want to count, I can do it a few ways. I can go len, fruits. This counts the number of fruits. I can also go print, len, fruits. Same output. Now what's the difference here? You notice that this comes out output. It tells me that it is a calculated output, okay? When I click print, it converts it into pretty much, not quite output, but it prints me the information like it would say a string. Now, why do I have these two here? I just want to explain to you something very quickly. In Jupyter Notebook, Jupyter Notebook is really easy to use. And then if you want to print, say, an output like this, it will do it for you. But say you're working on Visual Studio Code, or you're doing this on Idle or any other editor for Python, for the computer to tell you what you have calculated and literally give you the information, you do need to very often constantly use the print function. It really depends on what editor you use. But that is the beauty of Jupyter Notebook, okay? You don't always have to type print. Again, let's say I want to refer to my slices again. And what is number 1? It will go lemon, okay? Say after this, I'm going to eat an apple because I'm starting to get hungry. And I'm going to eat an apple after I finish my training with you. And I'm going to print fruits. It's my habit to use print. Sorry, because this is wrong. Fruit, not fruits. Okay, I've removed my apple. Okay, I'll give everybody just a minute to finish up. Do you have any questions in the meantime? Is everybody okay? Now we've gone into this course about an hour and a half. I'm just going to take okay, print fruits 1. It should be applied. Y result show lemon. I can't really see your codes, Bopa. So I think what has happened was you may have forgotten to insert, or there may have been a mistake here. You can look back at the replay as well. But if you are seeing apple, likely do you have this in the right order? Apple, lemon, orange, passion fruit? because it always starts from 0, as we've learned in slices here. Everything starts from 0 here. Okay, for Python slices. So if I go apple would sit in 0. So for example, if I go print fruit 0, oh, I've taken out my apple, that's why. Okay, if I had done it from here, it will come out apple as 0. But because I have taken out my apple, lemon now becomes 0. No problem, Boba. Okay, let's take a very short break. We'll see everybody back here at 11:40 Singapore time, which should be about 10:40 your time. Get a drink of water. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Can I just get a quick yes if you can hear me loud and clear? Can everybody hear me? Great. Okay, thank you, Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Zaki. Great. Okay, now let's move on. We're gonna learn a little bit about data types right now. So if you go File, New Notebook, Python 3, and we go Data Types. Now, you may have recalled that in my previous list basic, I'm just going to close some of these, but in list basic, I had mentioned integer and float. These are what we call data types. Now, in data types in Python, so say, for example, I create an object. I call it x equals 8. And I ask Python to tell me what is the type of x equals 8. And Python will tell me, it's an integer, int. Now, why is this important? Because I've created x equals 8 just to show you. But say, for example, I'm given a whole lot of data. Say Felicia gives me a lot of data from the education center, and I need to know what kind of data that she's keyed in into, say, Excel, and I convert the Excel file into a CSV file, which is the format that we need to run it in Python. Okay, but I need to know what type. I shouldn't presume that 8 is an integer. 8 could have been also a string that is stored in the CSV file. So that's why we need to know the types of data that we're dealing with. This is very important. Okay, now we can also, instead of going type, creating an object like this, I can also go type 8.0, and it'll tell me, it's a float. Okay. I can also go type 5, and it'll tell me str. This means string. Can I store various data types in one array? The answer is yes, you can, because we did that here. We stored an integer, a float, and a string. Yes, in Python. That's right. Exactly what we did here, because we're learning Python today, and we've done that here in my list basic teaching. The next one also is if you go type equals true, it'll tell me that it's bool, which means boolean. Now if I go type 5, it'll tell me string. And why is that? Because it sits between two open and close inverted commas at the top. Okay. So this is just a small bit of data types. If I can have everybody just finish that up. Hi, Zaki. Thank you. Sorry, I was muted. Let's go to the next one. It's called if else. Now, we're going to create x equals to 8. Again, let's use x equals to 8, but let's create a new file. If x is less than 6, if you notice, I have a semicolon here. Now, how Python works is that if you want something to be part of the code, you use indent, okay, which is using the tab function on your computer. Now, please be very mindful. This indentation is very important in Python. In a lot of other languages like JavaScript, for example, we use curly brackets to showcase if something is part of a bigger line of code. In Python, it's just a simple indent, but if you miss it, your code will not be able to run. So while I'm teaching this, please be very mindful of your indentation here. Okay, now let's go back and I go else if x more than 6, print x is greater than 6. If else, what are the 3 things that can happen here when you have x equals to 8? Okay, you can have a situation where x is less than 6. You can have a situation that x is greater than 6, or you can have a situation that x is 6. All right, so this is your code line here. Now, let's say if I change x here and I change x to 10, I will still get x is greater than 6. If I make x 0, I have x is less than 6. If I have x equals to 6 up here, I have x is 6. If you want to start seeing the differences and put them, want to make it easier to put them on your code files, you can say, for example, you can have x, you can change this to y, and y is equals to 6. And then make this y is all this with y is 6, and then you can even do z if you like, if it's easier for you to teach your students. There you go, you've got 3 different iterations here. Okay, if else. If you notice here in my folder, if you go back, you notice that everything that you've been doing gets automatically saved as well in here too. Well, what is the problem you have is that you've got your indentation wrong, Sal. If you notice you have print and I have a indentation there. I don't have an indentation for else if. So you've got to shift your else if back to be in the same line as if, else if, and else. That's why you're getting an error. Okay, so indentation is very important. It has to look exactly like mine. You shouldn't have a tab at all on else if and else. You should only have a tab on your prints because they are subcodes for if and else if. Okay, great. I'm going to run with a little bit more basics with everybody today as well. I think it'll help. Just a few things. I'm just trying to do a file. Let's go to new file, and I want to stress again on Boolean because it is that important. Okay, so let's create a new one for Boolean. So say, for example, I have laptops in my house, and there are 3 laptops in my house, and I have phones. I have four phones in my house. Okay. Now, if I were to go, now I see some people wanting a break. I'll just finish this very quickly, and then I will go. Papa's asking for a bit, and Sal's asking to go back for a bit. I'll just finish this. It's just 3 lines, and then I'll just put you guys on a short break again. Now, if laptops equals phones, double equals comes out true. Maybe run this code again. False. That's what it should be. Okay. Now, laptops more than phones. False. Phones less than laptops. False. It should say true. False. Laptops more than phones is false. Laptops, phones, false. That's correct. That is correct. And then if I have laptops less than phones, it's true, because these two are the same thing. Okay, this is just a small bit of Boolean that I do want to guide you all on. So that's just a little bit about loops. Okay. Something very, very simple about loops. Okay, this is what a loop does. For A in the range 0 to 7, print A. So the computer will come back and show me back 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you always need to remember this also when you do loops and range in Python, it will not bring back the 7. It will only bring back up to 7. Okay, this is part of the language. Now, say I don't have a starting point and I just go for B in range. And I just have 7. Be mindful of your indentation here, and again, your colon. It will just go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It gives me the same effect. So the default in Python is that it will start from 0 when it's doing a loop. Now, you can also tell Python, and you can give it more information. What does this do? Now, what I'm doing here in Python is I'm getting it to calculate for me as well. So I'm saying to it, I want you to start with 15. Okay, I want you to end before 0, and I want you to minus 3 each loop as you go down. This is what this means. Okay, so what this means, again, if you want to make notes, I want it to start with, I want it to end before, and I want it to change by. That is what I'm trying to do here. Okay, so 3 different ways to use loops in Python. Okay, now let's do a little bit. I'm gonna just let's do a little game to get you used to its conditional statements. What call this guess number? Now you can import functions in Python by using the import function here. So for example, I want to import random, And I want to make my number, I'm going to call my number n. So n will be equals to random, and it'll be a random integer. So we use what in Python we call randid, 1, 10. Okay. Now, and I'm going to have my guess number. I'm just going to call it G just to make it easier. So number means N, stands for number, and G means guess. Okay, I'm going to start guessing from 0. So I'm setting the tone for what I'm telling the computer to do. Now, you guys had asked me about not equals. It always starts with the exclamation mark before the equals, not after. This is how Python talks. So G is input guess my number. And leave a space here so that my code looks a bit better. And G is not only going to be an input, it's going to be an integer. Okay? If G more than N, print too high. Please note the indentation. It's very important. G less than N, print too low. Okay, and lastly, if it's correct, when it is correct, we want it to just print correct. So the computer, once you run it, is smart enough to ask you, guess my number. So the computer has thought of a number between 1 and 10. Okay, and let's say if it's 28. Oh, I happen to get it correct. You can play the game again just by going Shift Enter. I just rerun it all. Okay, and guess my number, 4, and it says, too high. Guess my number again. Maybe it's lower than 2. Too low. So the answer must be 3. Yes, that's right on. That's the number range. I can also make it 20. Make the game a little bit more fun. But once you change anything above, this is very important, you need to rerun it again. Okay? So I can guess my number 15, too high. 13, oh, I've been quite lucky today. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at functions. Okay, before I create a function, we're just going to go through some operators very quickly. If I have a 8 times 10, now back to the link that I dropped you on the chat. If I tell Python 8 times 10, it'll calculate for me 80. So times is an asterisk in Python. If I tell Python 8 divided by 10, it'll tell me 0.8. If I tell Python 8, 2, this means squared. So 8 to the power of 2 is 64. Okay. If I tell Python add or subtract, that's very straightforward. We're going to do that right now. So let's define a calculator here. I'm going to create a function called calculator, and my calculator will have 3 parameters, x, y, and op, which stands for operator. Okay. Now if my operator is add, telling the computer return me x plus y. Now plus is another operator. I haven't included that here because it's straightforward. Else if my operator equals subtract. I want it to return x minus y. Let me continue here actually. Else if my operator is multiply, I want it to return x times y. My operator is divide. I want it to return x divided by y. Now, what's great about Jupyter is that it gives you the colors. Not every editor will give you colors. For example, if you're on a Mac, you can also use your Mac command prompt to run Python. Part of your Mac is actually built on Python. It's built on Python 2, actually. Now, when I've asked you to download Anaconda, I've asked you to move on to Python 3. When I mean Python 3, it may say 3.5, 3.6, or 3.7. They're all similar. It's basically moved on. So if you have Python 2 on your computer, unless you're on a Mac, please don't install that because it can hurt your Mac. But if you're on a Windows, you want to stick to Python 3 because Python 2 will get discontinued. Okay, now that I've done that, I want to remember to run it. And I want to calculate, and I tell the computer, I want to calculate the numbers 1 and 2. And you've already defined add, right? So add is return x plus y. And if I put add, I get 3 because 1 plus 2 equals 3. Now let's say to the calculator, I want to subtract. Okay. You get minus 1 because 5 minus 6 is minus 1. And if I say to the computer, multiply, you get 10 times 12. With the computer, divide, bring 7.5 because 15 divided by 2 is 7.5. How's everyone doing here? All okay? You need a bit more time? Great. Still alive, Zaki. Yeah, you'll all be fine. I understand from Nuzu you have 3 weeks before you start teaching, and that's great. So that's more than enough time for you. Since everybody's quite comfortable, I'm gonna talk about just a very last section. I'm gonna go through dictionaries with everyone. Okay, let me not close that. Okay, let's call this dictionaries. Now, at Empire Code, we're all about a Star Wars theme. I don't know if you noticed, but if you do follow our Facebook and Instagram, our Facebook and Instagram is Empire Code SG. You can find us there. You'll notice that we like Star Wars, so that's a big thing for us. If you're in Indonesia, we also now have Empire Code ID on our Instagram. Okay, Empire Code SG as well. You can also find us on LinkedIn too. So please feel free to add me on LinkedIn, and I'll have you in. That's what we've always done. There's also a Future Ready ASEAN team on LinkedIn. The only problem is with it is if you wait too late to try and add the team, we may not know it's you if it's 6 months later or a year later. So if you'd like to be added to the team, please do that as soon as possible because we do get some very late requests, and we try to keep it very close between teachers or trainers like yourselves. Now, I'm going to create a family. I have dad, and the dad's name is Anakin. I have a mom. Mom's name is Padme. All you familiar with Star Wars? And I'm gonna have size. Being size of my family, and the size of my family is starts with 2. Okay, so if I go land, family, so we're putting together all we've kind of learned. And why does it come out as 3? Because it's not asking for how many people are in 3. The computer doesn't know that, right? What land family does is it's asking how many items are in the dictionary. How many key value pairs? These are how many key value pairs. Okay, key value, key value, key value. I'm presuming you can see my cursor. Key dad value Anakin. Key mom value Padme. Key size value 2. If I ask it to tell me what's in the array of mom, so this is where I need my square brackets. You see the square brackets here? That's asking it. So in my key value pairs, my mom has a list. What's in that list? And it's Padme. So it comes out mom. Okay. Now we can also always add new entries to the family. To do so, what to do is go family and then use the square brackets, and we're going to add Luke to the family. We're going to add a daughter to the family, and we're going to call it Leia. And we're going to print the family. Do you see how it's changed? So if I go land family now, I have 5 because I have 5 key value pairs. Okay. Now you can also delete somebody from the family. How do we do that? Now let's say Anakin has become Darth Vader, and we don't want Anakin there anymore. Daddy's not being very nice to everyone in Star Wars, not in real life, but of course. But let's go delete family, dad, and we print family, and you see I've deleted the key value pair dad. Yeah. Okay, now let's presume that Luke and Leia get married, and we're gonna have in-laws now. And my in-laws are Han Solo, and Felicia from Empire Code. The print family, and I have new in-laws. And you're going to notice that there is a bracket. Why is that? Because in my key value pairs, I have 2 values. I don't only have 1. Okay, I've got 2. Now, if you type land family again, you're still going to have 5. Why is it 5? Because I deleted that and I've added in-laws. It doesn't calculate the amount of value pairs, but it calculates the amount of keys. Just always remember that. Now, if I want to access a value of a key in a dictionary, so say I want to access who is in the 0 placing. Remember our slices? We'll go back to our slices again. Always refer back to your slices. It's going to be the same with your students as well. Okay, very commonly you have to refer back to your slices. This thing on slices, please note it down somewhere. Okay, so I want to access the 0 placing in my pairs, or my value, my value or my key value pairs. It's family in-laws equals 0, and that is Han. Could do the same if I want to access the first placing. I want to find who is my in-law in my first placing. I have Felicia. Okay. Say for example, I want to start being, different, and I want to make sure that, whoever got married first into the family comes as the first in-law. This is where you can just see, which placing the person is in the family. Now, family.keys. These are my keys. So if you want a dictionary to bring up the keys are mom, size, son, daughter, in-laws. Okay. Likewise, Python is able to bring up values. And you get all the values, which is Padme, Tu, Luke, Leia, Han, and Felicia. Okay, and if you want family items, it's also the same. You can bring it up. Mom, Padme, size, son, Luke, daughter. This brings up every item. It doesn't only bring up key and values, but it brings up the key value pairs. So brings up key value pairs. Okay. How's everyone doing? Now, in Python, practice makes perfect. There's a lot to learn, I know, and this is only the basics of Python. So just always remember that the more you practice, the better. Same for your students as well. If they try to play around with some data and create something themselves, or create something themselves, either way, the more experience they get practicing, the better they will get. So just always remember that too. Lastly, do look through these videos as often as you like, to go through all the content and to just make sure that you have it in the right order of teaching. This is my recommended order of teaching to kind of bring the step up. I do try to keep dictionaries last because I find that it can be quite heavy for some of, especially the younger students. So if you have any students that are around their teens, you want to take it a bit easier on them. Okay, I'm kind of scrolling up and down here. I'm not sure where everybody is. If I can get like on the chat room a bit of information on how everyone is. Up, please. How far up, Zaki? Okay? Okay. Okay, I'm just going to leave this here just for about 30 seconds. We're going to have to move on a bit because there's still a little bit more to cover. I'm going to need to cover the competition, how you're going to teach it, few other things. I'll show you a little chat bot that you can use, I guess, more as just an example of an idea for the competition. It's not expected. You're not supposed to exactly copy it either. I won't be going through that because that's really heavy. You're going to need to go through a lot more before you get to building a chatbot. I understand from Nuzu that you start 28 July teaching, so I'm just going to need to really run through what I would like you to learn as well. And I'm going to need to run through a few very key libraries as well in Anaconda. Now, if you see here, I had mentioned all these libraries here earlier. This is what we're going to go through at the moment. Okay, so essential libraries that are sitting in your Anaconda and things for data science that are essential as well. You will have something called a pandas library. It's not pronounced panda like the bear. Well, not quite the bear, but you get what I mean. The animal developed by Wes McKinney in 2008 while at Greenwich, Connecticut base. AQR Capital. AQR Capital is actually a hedge fund. And Wes wanted a flexible tool to perform high-performance quantitative analysis on financial data. Now, Pandas is great for financial data, for data science. It's not really useful, I would say, not totally for what you're trying to do for the competition, but it is the most powerful and flexible open source data analysis and manipulation tool written for Python. It offers data structures and operations for manipulating data. Now, NumPy. NumPy is another library. It's written in Python and C and is now an open source software. NumPy is a library for Python, adding support for large multi-dimensional arrays and matrices. Bear with me for a sec. I don't know what happened there. Okay. It's got large collection of high-level mathematical functions to operate on these arrays. Now, when do people use NumPy? I, for example, would use it for matrices. So say, for example, if I want a matrix calculation of the weather in my country, and I want to map the weather into zones. So say, for example, in different parts of zones, I'll use Indonesia as example because it's bigger. So say, for example, Jakarta is one map zone, and I have Bandung as one, and then let's say I have Semarang as one. I have different parts of Indonesia that have different zones, and I want to put them in a matrix. And I want to map the matrix to different temperature levels. That's when I would use matrices. I'll use NumPy basically. Now, the next one is Matplot library. Now, if any of you have an engineering background, like myself, and particularly you are a 60s or 70s baby, like myself, you would have been very familiar with something called MATLAB. Now, MATLAB is basically expensive, right? So when you're in engineering and you got to use MATLAB, not only is it expensive, but there's a lot of licensing involved. If you don't have it, you can't use it. Now, the beauty of Matplot library and a library like this in Python is that everything is open source. So the world has changed a lot. The world has changed from not needing quite a few of these kinds of software into having the ability for you to use Python and libraries like this to create the same thing that you want. Okay? So released in 2003, it was initially built for medical, for epilepsy patients. Now, it's quite funny because you'll notice that all these libraries were kind of created out of particular needs, and it may not be needs in computer science, but it's computer science needs within industries. And when you look at all these libraries, the more you realize that how much computer science is used across many industries in the world. Now, it also provides an object-oriented API. What's an API? Okay, application programming interface. Basically, something that you can bring into your program to do something else. In APIs, there are many kinds of APIs, but one I guess good example of an API I can give you is I think all of you are familiar with, say you go online and you try to log into something, and you get a text message getting sent to you to confirm that it's you on your mobile phone. Now, what somebody has done or the programmer has done is that they have embedded an API into the software application for your use. So that's what API stand for. Now, Matplotlib library is to be as usable as MATLAB. That's the one I had mentioned earlier, and the advantage of it being free and open source. Now, scikit-learn, this is one of my favorites, developed by French electrical engineer David Konarpo during a Google Summer of Code project in 2007, quite new. Scikit-learn is a free software machine learning library for Python, and I use it to create chatbots. It's designed to interact with libraries such as NumPy, SciPy, and Matplotlib library. So it works all together hand in hand as well. A lot of these libraries, we tend to use them together to build something for a program. And then the last one, which is also a toolkit I use for chatbots, is the Natural Language Toolkit, or rather NLTK. It is a suite of libraries and programs for natural language processing written in Python. Now, Python is very famous for chatbots because of this natural language toolkit. It is very extensive. NLP, or natural language processing, is in the area of AI. It's concerned with the interactions between computers and human languages. So when you talk to a chatbot, the chatbot has to be able to relate to you and respond to you, and this is what natural language processing does. And this NLTK, which is a natural language toolkit, helps you to do that. And in particular, how to program computers to process and analyze large amounts of natural language data. So we don't only use it for chatbots, we also use it for processing data. I think about last year, I had taught an insurance company, and what they were doing is that they wanted to understand their customers a lot better. They started taking all the recordings that were coming through to their call desk, people that would contact them asking them for different types of insurance products. So what they were doing is that they were converting, using speech recognition tools, they were converting what people were saying on the phone onto text. And after they converted onto text, they had a lot of data, large amounts of data, natural language data. So then they would convert that natural language data and they would analyze them to see what were the most popular things that people were asking, or to see what were the most popular things that upsetted people. Because understanding your clients not only means knowing what makes them happy, but also knowing what makes them angry. This is how we can draw better customer satisfaction. Now, the challenges in NLP, however, involves speech recognition, natural language understanding, and natural language generation. Now, I am aware that a lot of these things are now built on English. It's not built on every other language in ASEAN, for example. Indonesia will probably have a lot more, to be honest. But it can always start learning through the English language and how to do it. Else, what some people have done is, say you have a lot of data and it's in Burmese, it probably has to just be converted to English to use powerful natural language toolkits. Okay, so this is all I have on libraries, and all these libraries are available here. So if you go back to your Anaconda, and let's say if I search pandas, the pandas library comes up. If I search NumPy, the NumPy library comes up here. Okay, so everything is actually sitting in here after you've installed Anaconda. Anaconda has gone smarter. A few years ago, when in Anaconda, when you download it, it doesn't even have everything ticked, and now it does. So that's the beauty of it. It's changed a lot. It's definitely become more user-friendly. I'm getting asked, can I show the interface result from all the projects that I did? Okay, Bob. Okay, what I can show you today is I can show you the chatbot I've created. So let me open up back down to Jupyter. I'm going to use the Singapore Museum as an example. In the Singapore Art Museum, we have skills developers that come up and check through the entire site to see what people might ask. Okay, now to see what people might ask, what they'll do is that they'll notice, okay, the school there'll be 15 minutes, and then there'll be workshops, and there'll be resources, and then there'll be visit as well. So in this little chatbot that has been created, for example, there is a text file that will complement the chatbot on things that people may ask. So these are the things that people may ask, for example. Now, some of the things that people may ask is, when will you reopen? How can I arrange a school visit? I'm interested in your upcoming events. So if I were to run the chatbot file, automatically I can get the robot to provide me with greeting responses. For example, if I can ask the robot to say hello and hi. So if you see, there are different types of greeting inputs here, and there are different types of greeting responses as well. So say, for example, if I have hello, and Robo returns me with Y. Hi. Okay, that's his answer. Now, if I want to say to Robo, okay, Robo, I want to know when I can visit. Okay. So Robo automatically goes to my text file, and it'll go, okay, it finds the word visit, and it takes the first word visit here. So this is all has to be in order as well, because it'll go for the first word that I use, unless I'm going to ask, how can I arrange a school visit? Okay, it will automatically route me here. Now, what happens to chatbots is, whatever you have in your text file is very important. A, it will take the first word first if it comes up. B, you've got to really try and go through as much data as possible that you have in the past to see what are the likely questions people are going to ask. So say if I ask reopen, if somebody asks reopen and it clicks reopen, okay, when will you reopen? The redevelopment work is slated for completion by 2023. You can subscribe to our newsletter to keep updated on the latest news. It'll come up with reopen. So this is how a chatbot works. Now, for the competition, a chatbot is one idea you can use. It is very expensive as well, however. But the other things you can do, you can look at analyzing data if you want. You can look at other things that are involving, say, maybe creating a facial recognition application. There are a lot of these things you can do. Now, for your learners that potentially are just not there yet in terms of programming, we are offering the option for the competition for you to use Power BI. Okay. Now, the most important thing is that if you go to the data wizard site on futurereadyasean.org, as part of the competition, yourself as mentors and your trainers and your students, because you're the master trainers. Now, whoever is involved in this competition or wants to qualify for it has to finish all these modules under Data Wizard, which also involves introduction to Python. So I've covered basics, but you're going to get a lot more information here as well. And you're going to get a lot more information into using Power BI and Excel. So the only other thing that you're allowed to use is Power BI. Okay, so if I go to my profile here, as part of the competition, everybody has to collect at least a yellow badge under Digital Citizen, Dream Team Player, and Social Innovator. Everyone has to complete the entire Data Wizard. If you want information on the competition, it is now live. It hasn't been shared, however, to everyone because it is not officially launched. Please be mindful of that. But you can talk about it. Now, if you go to learn more under Get Engaged Events, the competition theme is on Let's Promote ASEAN Culture and Heritage Through Data Science. Now, I've given you a lot of aspects of data science here and the different things you can use. So please feel free to use any one of them. Let's use data science to understand and promote ASEAN culture and heritage. So my example here of the chatbot is using the Singapore Art Museum and creating a chatbot for the Singapore Art Museum. There can be other aspects as well. Apart from art, there can be culture, there can be dance, there can be music, and there can be theater too. Okay, the submissions link will only be available on the 1st of August 2020, but I will be covering with you now what we will require in the submissions. Now, of course, the theme is very important, the culture or heritage chosen and content. There's a big weighting of that. 20%. Some might seem quite high for a programming competition, but understanding what you're trying to do in everything is key. For example, if Instagram was created just for the sake of creating Instagram, there'll be no point. Instagram was created for people to share photos. So there's always a reason behind everything. Dropbox was created because the founder of Dropbox had lost his thumb drive one day, or forgot his thumb drive on the way to work one day, and he got a bit tired of that. So what's the reason behind you doing something is very key. Next is findings. Now, findings is important as part of data science, like I said. What kind of questions should you ask? Now, so your theme and findings should all form a PowerPoint presentation of not more than 10 slides. So details of work involved, use of various techniques to determine your conclusions. What kind of questions do you want answered, basically, as part of this whole competition? Then the technical work kicks in. So 40% use of Power BI or Python to create a workable data science model based on your findings. Okay, so that's key. Now, the technical work, for the qualifying round, there is no need to submit your work. There is a need to present them, however. Okay, everything should be presented as part of a YouTube video that gets uploaded as a private YouTube video. If you decide to use something else like Vimeo, which you find more private, if you have access to it, you can as well. But please only send us a video link and nothing more. Okay, there are going to be quite a lot of judges in this, so I recommend a private YouTube link because it's easily accessible by everyone. That's our recommendation. And in the submissions link, we will provide you with information on how to do that. Now, as part of that, the main thing is to provide information of how your technical work looks like. So no different to how I have done a little presentation here on how my chatbot works. It's also what we are after for the qualifying round. What have you created? And we can see whether it's workable or not when you run it. Okay. Same thing if you choose to do it through Power BI. It's the same concept. Now, lastly, the availability to take competition requirement instructions. If we've asked for 10 slides, please keep it to no more than 10 slides. If we see 20 slides, the participants will get disqualified. If within the video presentation, there is no showcase on the technical work that they have done, they will also get disqualified. Now, finals and prizes. It's going to be a live webinar this year, unlike this was last year, so we have no choice this year. So as part of live webinar, what will happen is finalists will be asked to give us your working technical file. So there'll be no ask for the technical file during qualifying, but the same technical file or the technical work done will have to be sent to us via a zip file. You do not send that as part of qualifying. It only gets sent if you make it to the finals. Okay, now what are the requirements? Requirements is for all ASEAN youth aged 15 to 35. Girls are encouraged to apply. Microsoft is all about encouraging girls to join this competition. If you can have one girl participant in your team, it does help. To this, it is seen as encouraging girls in STEM, so please be mindful. Try not to have one male mentor and two male participants. Now, team submissions to 2 participants and 1 mentor, that's straight. Please don't come with 3 participants and 2 mentors. But as a mentor, you are allowed to manage more than 1 team. Okay? Now, of course, even though you're a mentor, no different to your students, we do track and we do make sure that you have registered on the Future Ready ASEAN site and you have completed the following as well. So nobody is allowed to skip basically all the belt levels that they are supposed to collect. So these are all the belt levels again. Okay, so everybody has to collect what they need to collect, whether your mentor, whether your participant, it's all the same rule. All right. Okay, I'm going to open up to questions. I saw Bopa, you have a question. Bopa, I will send the chatbot file to you, but I will not send the other files. The only reason why I do not want to do that is because I want every one of you to learn how to create them yourselves. If I send you the files, you will not be able to create them yourselves and you will not see the errors that you're going to get. Please use the replayed videos to pause whenever you need to recreate the files themselves. That is the best way for everybody to learn. But the chatbot file, I will pass it to Nuzu so that everybody can take a look. Okay, do I have any other questions as well? I am mindful of time and we do have to wrap up. Andy, can we get more detail about the competition? What are you after, Andy? So that I can help. More detail as in, are you looking at scoring? Are you looking at, are you looking in particular at timeline? Yes, Zaki's, Nuzu will send you the recording. And any questions, please direct to ASEAN Foundation as well. Andy, okay, I thought I have covered everything in terms of the competition. Yes, there will be a time limit on the YouTube video on. And Andy, you can get into the website. Just go to futurereadyasean.org here. So you can go there. Okay, if you go to futurereadyasean.org, FRA competition, all the information is there. So in case you're feeling a bit lost right now, Andy, please go through the site link and direct more information to the ASEAN Foundation. Is there a time limit on the YouTube video? So the time limit on the YouTube video, there will be. We will provide it in the submissions link that will be available on the 1st of August as well. Any other questions? If not, we will wrap up. I am mindful of time. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So I want to wish everybody good luck.